All right, this is so important. I'm not even gonna get dressed. Look, what are the qualities of a good leader? Right now, you thinking of stuff. Sense of justice. You thinking of honesty. You thinking of whatever. Right? Okay. What are the qualities of a good leader? Now, we have been told. Okay, we have been misinformed. We have been miseducated. There's a big question that goes, if the white man ain't give you good clothes, during slavery, he says the white man didn't give you good clothes, good shoes, good housing, good dental care. What makes you think he gave you good religion, right? Now hear this. What makes you think this white boy taught you anything good? Now you might say, but look. You know, some things we learn ourselves. Yeah, of course. I want to just run this by you because this is really, really potent, really, really deep. And when you understand this, you're gonna understand a lot more. All right? But it goes this. You always hustling backwards. If I ask you, or you put in the cart before the horse, if I ask you, what are the qualities of a good leader? Right? You're gonna tell me, honesty, true. You should not. What you gotta understand first is that people are fooling you when they ask you that question. It's not even a trick question. It's just it's just put in the car. It's like there's this phrase in Black America where it says Negroes are always knocking on the wrong door, talking to the wrong people, asking the wrong questions. All right. Come on. You knocking on the wrong door. You talking to the wrong person. Like, I'm not asking you what the qualities of good leaders are. You ain't even a leader. But, but look, the question you should be asking. This is why it's the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, what is the responsibilities of a leader? What is the job of a leader? And this was in the last few videos, so I want y'all to peep it. But this is just an addendum, okay? Now, yeah, I know I throw that word around a lot, but what I'm saying is this is just an addendum. The job of a leader is to employ the violent men. Okay, this is why you don't have leaders. And then now you got to say to yourself, well, what if the job is to give employment to the violent men, right? Because there are violent men. If the job is to give employment to the violent men, and there's a lot of violent men who can't find employment, who don't find employment. Okay, but if the job of a leader is to find employment for the violent men, okay, and not just violent men, but especially the violent men, right? Then, what are the qualities that person should have? You see what I'm saying? When you understand what the job is, now all of a sudden you can be like, well, I want that person to be fair. I want that person to have a sense of justice. I want that person to, be impartial, listen to, be objective. That's when that's what you have to understand when you're looking at, ancient Kemet. You're saying, oh man, the Pharaoh did this. What was the Pharaoh responsible for? What was his job? You know what I'm saying? If you say, oh man, I really like Alexander, Alexander the Feeble, right? I know some of y'all call him the Great, but what I'm saying, Alexander the Feeble, I really like him, blah, blah. What was his job? George Washington, blah, blah, blah. What was his responsibility? What was George Washington? He was a general of the colonial army. Like you gotta go down the list. You say, hey man, I think the good president, I think Biden or Kamala or okay, who do you want to be in control of the violent men of your community? Who do you want to be in control of the violent men of your nation? That's the question. And as soon as you understand that that's the fundamental principle, you realize that you've been effing up. Okay? You got a man shouting at you, talking to you, not talking to you, right? Talking to you, but kind of in a loud voice, without a damn shirt on. Why? Because you're not understanding, okay? You're not understanding the fundamentals. And this is where these white boys mess us up because we're not even grasping the fundamentals. Okay, we're not even grasping the fundamentals. And this is the trouble. And I'm telling you, this caused lives. Because, see, when I look at the story of Lumumba, I don't know if I read it for y'all on my channel, but I read some couple books on for y'all on my channel. But Kwame Nkrumah writes The Challenge of the Congo, right? I think that's the name of the book. I can't remember. But he writes The Challenge of the Congo. And when you're reading this, you say to yourself, this man, because he didn't understand leadership, Kwame Nkrumah. All right. It's a little rough what I'm saying, but Lumumba died. Okay? Why? When Lumumba won the election in the Congo, there was another, like there was somebody runner-up. I can't remember, whatever. You know, the guy, basically the guy who kills him is the runner-up. So, Kwame Nkrumah comes with a suggestion, hey, look, Lumumba, be the prime minister, let that dude be the president. Lumumba's like, I ain't bet. But you see, when you don't understand leadership, because the president was the commander-in-chief. So the president had military power, had the authority over the military. Because the president had the authority over the military, because the president had the responsibility of employing the violent men. Violent men locked up Lumumba, and the rest is history. But, you know, I go back to, I mean, obviously Lumumba should have seen that coming. Okay? The other guy saw it coming. Belgium saw it coming. The United Snakes saw it coming. Right? The experienced people see it coming. The people who understand the fundamentals see it coming. Control the violent men. You know? I didn't watch it. I heard there was a documentary called, Destroy the Brute or something like that. Or, Beat Back the Brute. But that's the fundamental concept. It's just, what do you do with the brutes? You understand? Because there are brutes. I was just watching them. I'm just ranting. I should have made this a long form. But I was just watching this YouTube shorts. One of them just came on. This dude was like, they were like, oh man, this guy's so amazing. He don't even do martial arts, and he's a UFC champion, And you see this brother talking, and he's like, man, I used to just love fighting on the streets. I love street fighting, I didn't go into martial arts. I just went in and fought people on the streets all the time. Go to bars and start fighting people. You're like, what the fuck what kind of nonsense kind of thing is that? But the dude got employment with the U.S. government. Like, there are people who are not, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There are just people who might be different from you. And it might not even be different from you. That might be you. You know what I'm saying? Like I have relatives who are like that, who are like, yo, man, sometimes I go outside and I walk the streets looking for a motherfucking fight. There are some dudes, and I'm not saying that's not, no, I mean, like, look, I could say, look, sometimes I might pump some iron, lift some weights, and my testosterone raging, and I'm like, yo, let me go fight somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes that's just normal. What I'm saying is, who is employing that? And this is where it comes back to, it's like, you talking about, oh man, this, oh my gosh, Umar Johnson's a leader, or Treating Sheed's a leader. Hold up. You know what I'm saying? They're not leaders, because they're not employing the violent man. So, and when you look at who's employing the violent man, you could go back, you could say, hey man, look, the leaders of the black community are obviously a bunch of white men, but, like the police, this, that, so on and so forth. But if you look at it from a microscopic level where you say, okay, who are the black people who are the black leaders, right? Now, this is not for all of us, obviously, but the black people who are employing violent men will be the gangbangers. And honestly, I told y'all about this experience before, but you talk to one of these dudes, one of the gang leaders, and you realize he's a fucking leader. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way how he conducts his business, he's a fucking leader. And of course, you say to yourself, I want these qualities, this quality, so on and so forth. You can't, beggars can't be choosers. You ain't employing him, all right? You're not the police. But what I'm trying to point out to you, again, you put in the cart before the horse. So unless you understand, so what you have to do, and this is what I'm trying to impart into my boys, my children, right? I'm trying to tell you them. I say, look, man, there's a time and a place for the execution of violence. Okay? There's a time and a place for the execution of violence. But realistically, and this should tell you guys too, because here's another thing. I tell you, I'm in this position where, I got a lot of money for where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm in America, I don't got a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? But where I'm at, in the middle of Africa, I got some bank. And I'm not trying to boast. I'm not trying to brag. What I'm trying to tell you is, people come to me and they say, "Hey man, can I get some money? Can I get a loan?" And I say, "Yeah, sure, why not?" You know what I mean? Like, why not? I got it. You need it. to each their, whatever, the Marxism, socialism, whatever it is, right? And I get fucked over. Okay, I get screwed over. Why? Because I don't got no violent men. You understand? I don't got no violent men. You see? And you might say to yourself, well, Oni, that's my name, Oni. Right? Well, Oni, the bank doesn't have violent men, and the bank, the bank doesn't have violent men, and the bank, the bank loans money. How come you can't loan money? You're not blah, blah, blah. Look, first off, the person who loans money is a loan shark, right? Loan shark got violent men. I'll put that out. But the bank, you F around and don't pay the bank seizes your property. And the people seizing your property, I mean, it's not the bank, not the bank guy, whatever. He's paying people to seize your damn property, to run your pockets. Take your car. Take your house. Take your TV. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You got to put two and two together. It might seem like it's disassociated, but it's really, I'm trying to tell you the realism. I'm trying to tell you the reality, because when you understand this, okay, when you understand this, you're moving in the world a little bit different. Okay, you're moving in the world a little, you're moving with a little more understanding, because if you're saying to yourself, I'm gonna make my son a good leader, and you're not telling your son, hey, look, man, see that boy over there? He don't got nothing. He wants $1. You can give him $1 and he'll go get you 10. You know what I'm saying? You give him $1, he can get you 10. You understand? And that's just the world. I'm telling you, this is the consistency across the globe, across cultures. You go to Asia, you go to whatever, across cultures. And you're not learning it, you're learning it here, but you might say to yourself, okay, Oni, you taught me something. Now, how can I learn more? Or you taught me something. Now, give me some more knowledge, right? I bet. Go buy the book. Okay, I'll be looking at my sales. Look, I don't want to embarrass myself and be like, hey, shit, you got $20 this month. You know what I'm saying? You got $6 this month. I don't want to embarrass myself and say that. But, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta say to yourself, let me go understand this planet. Okay? Let me go understand this planet, because if you don't, you just won't. You know what I'm saying? If you don't, you just won't. And I mean, shit. That's all I can say. Anyway, that's it. Peace in Black Power. Oh, what's the name of the book? Wangalifu. So go check out the book. Stop playing. All right? Stop playing. Go check out the book, and you read it cover to cover. It's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. Okay? You might say to yourself, well, I could get this knowledge on my own. Yeah, possibly. But you know what I mean? Like sometimes you got to say to yourself, let me just buy a book and read. You know what I mean? It's like I could learn about quantum mechanics, possibly, without picking up a physics textbook. But if I want to learn quantum mechanics, I'll pick up a physics textbook. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could learn quantum mechanics. You could learn, thermodynamics. You could learn about the all parts of the human brain without going to a biology book. But just pick up a book, man. You know what I'm saying? like it ain't even complicated. But all right then.